We're gonna swim, bike and run in the Utah sun. We're gonna swim, bike and run, St. George, Utah, and Breakfast with Bob.
Hey, Macho Man, welcome back everybody to day 2, Breakfast with Bob, St. George edition. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Master Spa, Zions Bank, Quintana Roo, Form Smart Swim Goggles, Clash Endurance, Premium Plus Sports, the Challenge Athletes Foundation. Oh, I don't know. We get to chat now with the 6-time Ironman World Champion, member of the Ironman Hall of Fame, USA Triathlon Hall of Fame, 10-time Nice Champion, the great Mr. Mark Allen. Woo!
So great.
Oh my God.
we got the riff-raff in the audience today, I tell you.
I like it. The Gripster, how you doing, brother?
Good. I just got in yesterday to St. George, and I was stressed coming up and packing, and then the traffic was stopped on the road between Las Vegas and here.
Always, yeah.
And then you hit the Virgin River Canyon, and then you come up and you see the red rocks and just the whole panorama of where this race is going to take place, and you just feel yourself go, oh my God, I get why they're having the Ironman World Championship here.
Yeah.
You know, Kona is obviously this incredible place in nature,
Yes.
completely surrounded by ocean, and then you come here and it's kind of an island in itself in the sense that, you've got all the red rocks and the formations, and you're looking at these huge cliffs with like these faces in the rocks. It's just amazing.
It's a special place.
Yeah, and it's a friggin' hard course.
I was just going to say, you got 7,000 feet of climbing, and then 1,500 feet of climbing in the elevation in the run, and you're the wind is going to be howling, and you're out in the middle of nowhere where the swim starts. It's a tough day.
It can be, especially like in the swim, if the wind is already up, that reservoir, which can be pristine, beautiful, calm, blue, it can be like a washing machine.
Victory at sea. It really gets crazy.
Yeah, crazy. And, fresh water, you think, oh, ocean, that's where it's going to be rough. No, that reservoir can be pretty tough. And then, depending on the direction and the wind, there's going to be headwinds, there's going to be tailwinds, there's going to be side winds. Hey, that sounds like Kona.
I know. I think a lot of that. But it's interesting because as somebody who, who's went to the Ironman so many times, and early on didn't have a lot of success there, and then later had nothing but success. Somebody's going to make a mark here. Somebody, when you look at the both sides, men's and the women's, you don't have Lucy here, you don't have Jan here, you don't have Javier, you don't have Joe Skipper. There's a lot of people who aren't here. This is an opportunity, right, for someone to really make a name for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you take out Patrick Lange, you take out Jan Frodeno right off the bat.
Yep.
That's two spots that a lot of guys that are maybe below podium where they're not going to make any kind of statement, all of a sudden, they could be second, they could be third, they could be
Absolutely.
In the mix and actually dictating the race. And the same thing, unfortunately, Lucy Charles, who we saw here last September. Dominating, fastest swim, bike, and run, and the run was what impressed me most. And so I was so looking forward to seeing how she would then take that up that same notch in a full distance race, full Ironman.
Right.
She's not here. Laura Phillip, who, in my opinion, was just
the favorite.
Was absolutely on fire, and she had an incredible 70.3 already this year, and was poised to, and then all of a sudden she's out, and so disappointing. On her Instagram feed, she was like, "I can't believe that I haven't been sick for 4 years or something, and here it is, World Championship. I'm ready, and I've got COVID."
And we were interviewing Sebastian a couple years ago, and he said there's a fine line between being fit and fucked. That was basically his exact line. It's like, and we've seen a lot of it coming into this race. When you look at the athletes who are left, I mean, really, we have one. Sebastian Kienle is the only guy who's won the Ironman World Championship, right? And having this be so wide open, and Sebi knowing that he's getting ready to hang it up in a little bit, what are you thinking about with Sebastian?
Well, I spoke with him a couple of weeks ago, and he said, I haven't had a lot of great races recently. I've had some injuries I've been dealing with. He said, I feel pretty darn good. And he said, I would like to pull out one or two more surprises this year before I actually kind of go on the victory lap and then transition out of the sport of racing, of being in world-class World Championship events. And so I think if he's having a decent day, he could actually surprise a lot of people.
Yeah.
He obviously very, very good on the bike. Obviously knows how to pace the distance. He's a seasoned veteran. He's not going to get caught up in a little pissing match at the front, halfway through the bike ride, and trying to, make a statement. He knows that the winner is not the one who leads the longest; it's the one who crosses the line in first. And so
that's all that matters.
I think he could have a day that would mark something. But again, I think what you just said, somebody's going to make a mark here, both in the men and the women, that's going to be memorable. And leading up to it was so much anticipation, since we haven't had an Ironman World Championship since 2019, and seeing in all these little individual races athletes putting in these performances, especially the up-and-comers, looking like, wow,
I'm here.
Gustav's ready. Christian Blumenfeld is ready. Laura Philipp is ready. Lucy Charles Barkley is ready. And then,
it's sort of some of the air comes out of the balloon when some of those folks aren't there.
Yeah, and then you have Daniela Ryf, who, she's raced twice this year, 70.3s. Didn't have a great one in Oceanside, didn't have a great one in Dubai. But looking at some of the social media stuff, do look at that social media stuff, and she looks like maybe she's the switch is flipped. I don't know. It's
my favorite story with Daniela. We were just interviewing her the other day, and she was saying that her godson was introducing her to a friend and said, "This is my godmother. She used to be good at triathlon." and she's like, and she's laughing. She's going, I really have not won anything since 2019 70.3 Worlds in terms of a big thing. So she really hasn't done anything. Well, people see all the success that Mark Allen has had over your career, but I think what they don't realize is we're doing this article for Triathlete on prize money. And we were chatting the other day, and look at 1982. You have this breakthrough race. You finish fourth at the first ever USTS race. It's Dave Scott, it's Molina, it's Tinley, and it's Mark Allen. And then you go and win $1,000, and you felt like you were rich at the Horny Toad, right? But then you go to Kona. Derailleur falls off the bike. Then you go to Malibu for that U.S. Open event and nearly drown. So you had the high and then the lows, and just coming off of that year, how are you looking at yourself and looking at this, hopefully this career I'm going to have?
Yeah, I mean, to back it up, even further, I was inspired to get into triathlon and to do Ironman because of seeing Wide World of Sports, right? Julie Moss and Kathleen McCartney in that whole year, 1982, but my goal or my vision was just to do the Ironman once and move on, get serious with my life. I had a degree in biology from UC San Diego, but I didn't have a career path really lined up. I didn't know quite what I wanted to do. So I figured, train for Ironman for 8 months, the perfect stall tactic. And
parents will go for that.
But, at that time, there was no such thing really as a professional. I mean, I think Dave Scott was... He had some endorsement opportunities. Maybe there were other people, but there wasn't prize money. Then there was that little bit of prize money though in the US Triathlon
500
series.
For first, 300 for second, 200 for third, and you took fourth.
Yeah, and regardless, even if I'd won, I mean, $500 is I'm not going to retire on that. I'm not going to quit my job over that. However, a couple months later when I won the Horny Toad Triathlon, which was a half distance race in San Diego. And $1,000. Now that's starting to sound like a good month's salary,
right? Yeah.
And then went to Kona. Obviously, no prize money there, but it didn't matter if I won or not. I dropped out. And then Malibu, they had a decent prize purse.
$17,000 for that race. Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, it looks like there's opportunities for people to actually start making some money. And then November that year, I went to Nice, the first ever Nice International Triathlon. Won that and actually came home with enough money that I could live for the winter on it. And I'm like, this is cool. Starting to feel like maybe. And that second year, 1982, I started working my normal season as a lifeguard at that point. And a couple weeks into it, I thought, you know what? There's opportunity here. Nike had picked me up.
Yes.
Companies were starting to engage athletes. And I thought, this could actually, people are paying me to go out and train. And I'm like, why should I work?
Exactly.
And I didn't know where it would go, but I didn't care. I was 24, 25 years old. So,
right.
And geez, here we are, 2022, and
yeah.
I'm still looking for that $500 though. I don't know.
I know. So it was interesting because for so many years when you came to Kona, you just didn't feel a connection with the island. But in '82, when you went to Nice for the first time, there was something there right away that you felt, this is comfortable.
Yeah, a lot of the athletes from the U.S. flew over together. Scott Tinley and his brother Jeff Tinley and Scott Molina and myself. And we arrived in Nice and we checked into the hotel, and it was about 10 at night, which was 1 in the afternoon San Diego time, right? So we're wide awake, and I had never been to Europe, and we came in, and the Promenade des Anglais is just lined with these brilliant lights, and so we go, let's go for a run,
Yeah.
And I was just running along the Côte d'Azur there and just feeling like, oh my God, it was my first trip to Europe.
Right.
This is amazing. Look at these buildings. Look at this ocean over here. And it was like this amazement. And the Tinleys, they were like, we got to hurry up and get back to the restaurant because we're getting hungry and they might close the restaurant, And they just had like
it was a job.
They just had a completely different kind of relationship with it. And that was also very different from when I landed in Kona earlier that year to race. I got off the plane and I felt literally like I'd been hit in the gut by Mike Tyson. I mean, the heat and the humidity and the intensity and, looking down at the course as you fly in, and it just intimidated me. And it took me, basically 7 years before I finally was able to go to the Big Island and really just feel at home and embrace all that it had to offer there and all that was served up as challenge on race day. But Nice, it was just kind of right off the bat, like, this is so nice.
But you had to work at it at Kona, right? You had to figure out how to become one with that island.
Yeah, the Big Island is very powerful.
Yes, it is.
It's like walking into someone's home and telling them, I want to be in your house on my terms.
Right.
That doesn't work.
No.
You go to Hawaii and you get off the plane, and there has to be, I think, a part of you that truly honors the spirit of that land, the spirit of the people, the spirit of aloha.
Right.
And to just be accepting that, I'm not a perfect person. I have strength, but I also have weakness, and to embrace it all and to just put it out there on race day anyway, and to look around during the race, the actual race, and go, wow, this is amazingly beautiful. It's not a hot, windy, desolate, lava-strewn place. I mean, it kind of is, but at the same time, there's a majesty and a beauty to it. And it's so
very similar here.
It's so similar here. I mean, it's going to be hot on race day in the middle of the day. It will be windy. The air is very dry, so it's just sucking every little bit of moisture out of your body, and that can be intense or intimidating, or you can also look around and see within all of that challenge and that intensity, there's just this amazing natural raw beauty that you can feel a part of that,
right?
And you gain energy from that sense of like, wow, this is amazing.
Was there a point, because obviously it's been long enough, when you come to one of these races, it's like, well, thank God I'm not racing. This is great. I don't have to bring a bike. I don't have to do any of that stuff. I can just go to poo-poo parties and enjoy myself. How long did it take you after you won your last Ironman 95? Was it hard to come back in 96 and 97 just to be there and to be Mark Allen?
It was easy from the moment I packed the bike for the last time.
I figured. I needed to ask that, but I sort of had that gut that you were like, I'm dropping the mic. I just won my 6th in a row. I am so done.
Before I went into that final Ironman, I knew that would be my last one.
Yeah.
And I also, there's a little place that I like to kind of go to tune into the island right before the event and leave some offerings. And I asked the island, I said, help me have one more great race here. And I knew that I could never come back and ask for another race. And so it was kind of like a deal I made with myself, with Hawaii, with the island, and it was just magic the way that day unfolded. But then also when I was done, I was free. I knew that there was no coming back. There was no tomorrows. and I knew that I really wanted to embrace the other side of the sport, which is, coaching athletes and being involved with kind of being an ambassador for the Ironman and for companies that I work with, and to, lend my perspective after so many years on how races might unfold or who might be doing well. I love it because now I can talk about it. And if I'm wrong,
who cares?
That's awesome. Like, hey, I proved Mark Allen wrong. I won the thing and he said I was going to get fourth. It's like, that's awesome.
That's the best.
I love those kind of surprises. So,
Grip, as always, thank you so much for being such an ambassador for the sport, my man. I love it.
All right.
Mr. Mark Allen, 6-time Ironman World Champion, Poncho Man, take us out.
We're gonna swim, bike, and run in the Utah sun. We're gonna swim, bike, and run where? St. George, Utah, and breakfast with Bob and Mark Allen.
Day 2, Breakfast with Bob, the Grip, right here.